Joining me now from the Sin City, Las Vegas, Richie O'Baid. Richie, you do a lot of different things for the station that you work for in Las Vegas. So first, just take us through your many different versatile roles, utility man roles at your station, and what station you work at as well.
Yeah, so I work at KSNV, Channel 3 here in Vegas. It's an NBC affiliate. As you said, I'm a big util guy, big roles. So essentially, my title is a video editor. How I like to explain it to people who aren't in the field or haven't worked in a station, it's basically the mailroom. That's how I put it. So it's an important role. Essentially, everything that you see on the newscast, from the packages to some of the graphics, the VOs, the SOTs, whatever, that's us. In my shift, there's three of us, so that's us. But on top of that, let's start this off. I'm big into sports, so I knew that that's a route I wanted to go. So I got in with the sports director there, Brian Salmon, awesome dude, one of a kind. He's been all around the country, done amazing things. So I got in with him, learned that side of news, sports mainly, help him with so many things from cutting up 15-minute interviews to make them 3 minutes to fit the runtime, whatever it may be. He's taking me to Aces games. I'm credentialed for the Raiders right now, so that's going to be awesome once they have more home games here. Just all of that stuff I've been doing a lot of. He also allows me to get on camera reps. So say that Aces game, he'll do his hit and then he's like, all right, you write a script, you find a story. He lets me go talk to Asia Wilson, talk to Becky Hammond. I get all the notes from that, then I go do my segment to build my reel because he's turned into a huge mentor for me. So he knows kind of where I want to go and he's helped me get there. Then on top of that, I also help in the studio. Whatever they need from me, whatever it may be, I help reporters with their packages. I walk around and mess around with people around the station, keeping team morale high. There's a lot of things you can do to a news station. When I going into it, I kind of thought it was going to be very this, and this, just make air, which it is. It's all about making air. That's the most important thing. But there's so many different routes you can take, and at least I can say for my station, the anchors that have been there for decades and the reporters who've been there for years, they help everyone get to where they want to be. It's one big community, one big team, and that's something I've fallen in love with early working in news. Like I said, I can only speak for my station, but that's how it's been so far.
And it's hard to replicate how a newsroom is because the newsrooms are so different everywhere. Like when you're in college at KU, things like that. When you stepped into that environment for the first time and now you're a couple months into it, how have you adapted most to that environment that you're in?
Yeah, so I'll say what I learned very quickly, very early is that compared to KU, where we're all kind of starting at the same level, right? So we're all helping each other. We've all really never done this before in terms of covering KU sports, making packages, like sure you have experience in high school, but it's nothing like that. Then to go to a real news station where there's me first day on the job, and then there's this anchor who's been here 35 years and he's seen anything from here to here. So also learning my biggest I guess tip for someone who's in my same position is that in college you find your bubble, especially in the journalism school, right? You find your bubble and you guys work together and you know that everyone has each other's back. And I'm not saying that in the real world you don't have each other's back, but I will say KU, let's say you're messing around in the J school lobby and you're doing your work, whatever, and then you kind of forget about it and you'll get to it, right? Well, in the real world, if you're messing around, nobody's gonna say, hey, there's no professor to say, hey, you need to get your stuff done. No, if your stuff doesn't make error, that is completely your fault. You can't say, oh, I was talking. No, 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 that's not how it works. So that was something I learned quickly. It's that yes, everyone is friendly and it's a big team, but at the end of the day, you have to do what you're assigned to do no matter what. It's not like you're gonna fail the grade and you can do it later. No, if you don't make error, everyone looks bad because early I learned from the anchors that you have to be in communication with them because yes, you're doing the work, let's say, but they're the ones on camera. So if you mess something up, it makes they no the viewer doesn't know Richie O'Baid in the back did it. No, they think the anchor did it. the anchor doesn't look good or the reporter, and it's a whole mess. So that's something I learned. I will say I like to think I'm very outgoing, so going into a new station was pretty easy for me. Just the first few weeks, kind of learning where I fit in, learning the roles of everyone else, and then from there, just the simple like, "Hey, do you watch sports?" Like that. That's one of my go-tos, right? And especially in Vegas, I found everyone kind of does. And the great thing about Vegas is a lot of people aren't actually from here that work at these news stations. They come from all over, and that's also a great talking point. So I think that was the biggest thing, just learning how important your specific role is, and then building communication and connections with the people you work with.
Yeah, being from Vegas, you're saying that, there's not everyone's from there that lives there, things like that. There's a lot of pro teams going there. The Raiders are already there. You mentioned the Aces, the A's are going there. The Golden Knights have been there, won a Stanley Cup. What is it about Vegas that you think these pro teams are gravitating towards that market?
So I will say, sports entertainment capital of the world, that's what we're going by now. So I will say that the Strip is one of the biggest hotspots for these teams in terms of they've been able to see how good the Raiders been doing, and this is a very mediocre team, the classic 8 and 9, 9 and 8 every single year. But there's fans coming in, even if you hear it's not Raiders fans. Let's say over half the stadium is Chiefs fans or Broncos fans. It doesn't matter. It's still putting people in seats. It's still drawing in revenue to the Strip, to all these major casinos, and people are willing to pay high prices here in Vegas. That's a huge thing. So if you look at, median ticket prices or median beer prices, where Raiders is one of the top and still it's being completely filled up. So I think other teams are seeing the model the Raiders have implemented and noticing, okay, Vegas, most people here are here for the weekend and they're willing to spend and they're gonna spend it no matter what. So why not spend it on us? And the Aces are kind of a different route. They're and the Knights, they're both homegrown, so they have homegrown fan bases here, right? So what that does is now, okay, now the sports community is really growing. Like the Knights are brand new here, so they were able to take a whole demographic of hockey fans, bring them to Vegas, and now they're more open and willing to take on other teams since they're already here. And we got very lucky with Aces winning 2 championships, the Knights winning a championship. So now we have proven winners in Vegas, which does a whole lot too. A lot of people didn't know what the market size would be for a Vegas team, and we found out very fast that it's pretty good. And with the A's coming to me, very interesting that's going to work, especially since baseball is very unique in terms of there is no salary cap. Like, of course, there's thresholds, and we don't need to get into all that, but there is no salary cap. So it's going to be interesting to see how the A's owners are going to come to Vegas, a bigger market than Oakland, more lucrative market than Oakland, and how are they going to spend? So I do think a lot of teams are seeing proven winners, plus the Raiders being able to generate loads of money and saying, why not us? Why shouldn't we come? I remember when the first before the Knights, it was a big talks that we were gonna get the Sacramento Kings, and this is when they were terrible. Halliburton was still there, like they were garbage, and so that was a big talk. And then like the beam comes, they make the playoffs, yada yada, that goes out the window. But I do think we are gonna get an NBA team, whether it's an expansion team along with Seattle or wherever it may be, or someone will move here. I do think we will have every single major sport here very soon.
That's always cool, and it's nice to see like the teams that are successful too. Like you mentioned, like the Aces have won twice with my favorite WNBA player, Kelsey Plum, although she's not there anymore. So we
Right.
don't we don't have to get into that. But what you mentioned, just being in those environments, though, like you're talking to Becky Hammond, the Aces coach. You're at the Raiders games. The Raiders, not doing too bad to start this year. When you're in those environments, what's helped you be part of that environment? Because, for a lot of people, it's kind of, press conferences can be overwhelming or games can be overwhelming, things like that. What helped you get comfortable in those bigger environments with the bigger teams?
Yeah, so I will say that I give most of my credit to the J School and to Playmakers, and just it's so unbelievable how you can go from your high school to a freshman at KU at the J School and immediately be in a press conference with Bill Self or Lance Leipold. Like, there's not a lot of places where you can go and say that. Like, like for example, Mizzou. I mean, we don't gotta bash them, but listen, you can't really do any of those things till junior, senior year at the J
Mhm.
School there. So at KU, being able to do those things from the start to the finish and just build reps and reps and reps, and I feel like I did a very good job from the start, being like, "Okay, sure, you might be nervous here talking to these people, but at the end of the day, they are just people like you know, they do the sport a little bit better than you do, but they are people, and also, let's just keep putting in reps, you know, like, let's talk to everyone." I think what I will say is the women's sports at KU was one of my biggest, helping points just because they're not covered as much. So the women's basketball team is specifically, they're not covered as much as the men's basketball team, but they're an amazing team. They have amazing staff, and you're able to go into those press conferences and really rattle off as many questions as you want. And so I was able to do that. Lauren Richie, who you know, she's awesome at that too. So being able to get that experience very early in my life just translates super well here because going into that first, I remember going to the first conference, the Aces, with you know, what, three-time MVP Asia Wilson walking in, Becky Hammon championships with the Spurs, Aces, like, I kinda was in my head like, "Okay, maybe I'm gonna be nervous," and they came in, and it was like, "Oh, no, like, this is like I'm in Lawrence, like, you have good questions, ask the questions, they're gonna respond to you, and it's gonna go well." And it was awesome because very first, time I talked to them, they, both hit me with like, "Oh, that's a good question," and anytime you get that, like, oh, you're like, alright, awesome. So that started really well, and then from there, I just kept building. The Raiders, I've been to a few of their training camps and OTAs and stuff like that. I haven't been to a game yet because first, they were on the road, and then their home opener, I was out of town. So most likely, I'm gonna miss the Bears next weekend, but after that, I should be there for every home game. So yeah, I'll definitely let you know how that is. I'm excited to be able to talk to Pete Carroll, Genty, Geno Smith, whoever it may be. It's, definitely awesome. I credit KU a lot for allowing me to get those reps early in my life.
As a Bears fan, I can guarantee the Raiders will win that game. I can guarantee.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but you mentioned the J school. I mean, you did exactly kind of what I did. You found that niche sport, which was the women's sports. When we were at KU, kind of how we started the Playmakers brand was not just a show, but we did all these live broadcasts for the soccer team, the women's soccer team, and like the tennis team. And the one I was there, the volleyball team was really good. They went to the Final Four, you know. So it was just like getting to know these athletes, and they're like way more willing to tell their story. And I thought it was like a lot cooler. Like obviously, like you know, the basketball players and everything, and football players, but like to like see that like a volleyball player, a soccer player like recognizes you out or anything like that was pretty cool for me. And just to see that you know you're talking to Asia Wilson, MVP, two-time WNBA champion. The same thing with me here in Iowa, like talking to Caitlin Clark, like the aura that she has. People are like afraid. They'll be in the press conference and like film her answers and everything, but no one's asking a question. I'm just stepping in there asking these questions, and she's giving me these great answers. And it's like, you know, that makes you feel good. Like you mentioned, talking to Asia Wilson and saying, "Hey, that's a good question."
No, I couldn't agree more, and that's just, you know, it's a testament to us building reps early, and same thing, people get super nervous, and I just see it as an opportunity, okay, well, I'm gonna ask even more questions now. Because how I look at it is, in the moment, it seems like this massive deal, but trust me, if you ask a bad question, no one's gonna remember. You'll remember for the rest of your life, but no one else is gonna remember. There's gonna be more questions to ask, like, you will be fine. I think the fear of failing scares a lot of people, and I think the biggest thing is just do it. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is the mic falls out of your hand. You know, something silly like that. Just ask your question. Don't be scared to get reps because if you want to have a career in sports, you can't be scared because trust me, once you get to those bigger games, like you know, I've covered March Madness, I've done bowl games, whatever. Once you get to those bigger games, you know, those beat reporters from Bleacher Report, CBS Sport, they're gonna hog that mic, and you might not even have a chance to, you know, you might never touch the mic. So get those reps in when you can, so that if you do touch that mic in one of those very big moments, you're ready, prepared, and you can execute.
Yeah, the more reps, the better. It doesn't even matter what environment you're in. Like even if it's like high school football, you know, you're getting live shots, you're doing reps, you're interviewing somebody. That's always good practice. Like people are kind of consumed with the fact that oh yeah, like you want to cover these big time events, but in like these local news communities. And I'm not sure how football is in Vegas, but I'm sure it's big, even high school football, like here in Iowa and in Illinois, it's like big time. Like Friday nights, it's all about high school football, and then basketball too. So just getting in any type of environment, getting any type of reps, that's helpful. That's advice that I would give. What other advice would you give to people who are trying to get into that big time sports market like that you are?
Yeah, so I agree with the high school football. That's a huge thing that if that's something for you to do, like definitely do it when you're younger. Like, so for instance, yesterday, Gorman, number one team in the country, they lost to Mater Dei from California. Huge game here, massive game. Usually Gorman's, they're broadcasted everywhere. They've had huge alumni. But I will say to get back to your question, my biggest tip again would just be to get out there. From KU to where I'm at now, there was a period of me just applying to a bajillion places and being denied and not looked at, whatever it may be. And that's gonna happen, and you can't let it discourage you. You just have to keep trying because I knew that once I got a toe in the door that I would go from there and that it's exactly what happened. So if you have that same mindset that you don't let failure disturb you, you're gonna be able to do just fine. You just have to get into that first place. And the great thing about this specific field is that everyone truly does have so many connections and they're willing to help you because I don't know about other fields, but there's a lot of times where, the person who gets to the top just stays there and maybe it was handed to them, maybe whatever. But in the news, there's a big thing where those anchors, reporters, whoever they may be, if you talk to them and ask, "Oh, where did you start?" More than likely they're going to tell you, "Oh, a video editor, a copywriter, whatever it may be." They all went from bottom to top. And so they're willing to help you because they see themselves in you or they see somebody else trying to do what they did. So the community is amazing. And the biggest tip is just get inside that door, keep making connections. And going back to press conferences and covering games, it's not just about from kickoff to the end of the game or first pitch to last pitch. It's about everything outside and in between in terms of talking to people and making connections. What's stopping you from going to that Bleacher Report writer or the CBS beat writer and saying, "Oh, hey, my name is here, blah blah blah. How did you get here?" Because I'm telling you, if you think that they just like to listen to athletes, no, no, no. They love to talk about themselves too. That's how it works. So if you just ask people about themselves, they'll spill it to you more than likely, and you can build connections from there. And who knows what will happen from there. Hopefully, down the road, you're applying for jobs, you have more experience. Somebody sees, oh, KU on your resume, they think back, remember you, whatever it may be. And you get a job, and that's another big thing, like I just mentioned, KU, I never really realized while I was there how big of a school KU is until I left, and anytime I bring up I'm a Jayhawk, everyone instantly knows, so, kind of using that to your advantage any way you can. There's a lot of people who are gonna see KU on your resume or hear you talk about it, and they're gonna instantly, link with you or like you, whatever it may be, so just pivoting yourself into what that station or sports team will need or want is a huge thing too. Just being able to allow them to see what you bring to the table. And also a big thing, which I learned in the job process, the job interview process, you want to make sure that the station, the team, whatever it may be, fits you as well. You're not just being interviewed. I think you should be interviewing them as well. You don't want to fall into the crux and the hole of accepting a job that maybe isn't the best for you just because you need something. I think the biggest thing is to find somewhere where you can get your foot in the door and find somewhere that you're genuinely happy doing what you want to do. Because yes, it is all about that end goal, whatever the dream is. But if you're not having fun the first 10 to 20 years, I don't know if you're going to be able to stay until that dream job. So find somewhere that brings you happiness, that helps you get to where you want to be, and have fun with it, man. I mean, you're doing these jobs, especially in sports, for you could be doing that 16-hour days. Like there is no end. So you have to make sure you love it because if you're gonna wake up every single day, you wanna go do it. You don't wanna be like, oh, another day. That's how a lot of people fall into that cycle. So find what you love and go do the best you can.
That's the hardest realization is like you have all these long days and then you're coming home and you're just like, oh man, like I'm glad the day is over. But then you like look back at the day, like small reflection, and you're like, wow, I did this and this. I was at, the Aces game for you, or I was at the Raiders game for you, or like for me, I was at the Iowa game, or at my last job at the Vikings game. And that's cool that you mentioned like you don't know who is a Jayhawk, because when I was in North Dakota, I went to a couple of Vikings games, and that was when Carson Wentz was on the Eagles. And Adam Thielen was also from like the viewing area in Fargo where I worked, and they played each other. So I got to the game, and then Kevin Harlan was calling the game. So I went up
Mm.
to Kevin Harlan, told him I went to KU, took a picture with him. He gave me his contact info, so I still talk to him all the time. So it's like you just don't even know who's from KU, or who's already made it there, already where you want to be, who can give you advice. And Laura Oakman too. Also, she used to be on the sidelines for NFL on Fox as well. So you just never know
Mm.
where or who will be a Jayhawk. As long as you put that rock chalk out there and they say Jayhawk back, you're good. I was going to ask you though, being from Vegas, because a lot of like KU students, they're from the Midwest, like Kansas City, Chicago, like me, St. Louis. Going from the Las Vegas on the West Coast to the Midwest, what were your biggest realizations from somebody who's, coming into the Midwest?
Yeah, so this is always a fun question, because I get it a lot, and it's funny because anytime someone here I'm from Vegas, 2 things would happen. One, they'd say, "What are you doing here? How are you here? Why are you here?" And second, they immediately think that because I'm from Vegas, I was born at a blackjack table and have played blackjack my whole life, and that I was born inside a casino. They don't realize that there's actually, like, I live in Henderson, which is, like, 10 minutes from the Strip, but, like, that's even a thing, they just think it's a strip and then desert. So that was a funny thing. I remember actually my senior year in a photography class, so we had a midterm project that was kinda like a silly, goofy project, and I did a project explaining how, like, people from Vegas don't just gamble all 24/7 and live in casinos. But so I will say, why I chose KU, I guess we'll start there, is because actually my current roommate, his parents went to KU, right? His mom was a cheerleader for the basketball team, whatever. Um, so we would visit in high school Lawrence all the time. We would actually go to Bill Self's basketball camps in the summer. Just we'd go there, hoop up, whatever. It was time to make. I actually skipped a year of high school, so I only did 3 years of high school, but long story short, I wanted to do 4 years and not go to school. That was my original plan, but then I was like, "Okay, I think I can do this in 3." So my parents made a deal with me, "We'll let you do it in 3, but you have to go to school." So I was like, "Okay." So when it was time to make a decision for college, it was between a few schools, and I knew I wanted to leave Vegas. I wanted to meet new people, make a whole new circle, new connections, whatever. So I was like, "Okay, would I rather go to this place, or this place where I know nothing, like no people, no area, nothing, or go to Lawrence where at least I know the area?" I don't know anyone, but I know the area. So I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go there." So then I ended up in Lawrence, met people right away, and they would all say the same thing, like, "Why are you here? What are you doing here?" And it is funny because I use it to my advantage, talking to whoever may be bringing up Vegas kinda quickly, because for some reason, that immediately lowers people's shield, and they're just willing to talk about whatever. It's a great conversation starter. I will say I learned very quickly it's different than Kansas in terms of Vegas, because I used to have my ears pierced and everything. I learned really quickly nobody in the Midwest has their ears pierced. I used to wear like these ripped holy jeans. Nobody does that. There's a lot of things I learned fast that nobody does. But it was awesome. And like I said, anytime people would hear I'm from Vegas, I never had not one person be like, "Oh, yeah," or "Wow, that sucks." No, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, that's the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life, like, let's talk more about it," and whatnot. And then it's always awesome going from a big city like Vegas to then a super small, tight-knit college town in Lawrence, and just the vastly different lives those 2 places have, and getting a mix of both was super awesome. If I were to go back in time, I would have done the exact same thing, not just because of what I got from KU, but just who I met there, the place there. The people in the Midwest are awesome. I've always said that I could definitely see myself retiring in like Overland Park or somewhere in Kansas City, because I mean the people in the Midwest are awesome. Even Chicago, my mom's from Chicago. She's from Melrose Park. So like the Midwest, I truly think it's the best. I mean, yeah, West Coast, best coast, yada yada, but the Midwest is pretty awesome.
Everybody's nice. Midwest nice is a real thing. when you
Yep.
talk to people from the Midwest. When it was time to go to KU, you said that you had the familiarity, things like that. What was the sense that you got from like this is my place? Because when I went there, I took two visits. I visited a bunch of different schools, but I took two visits to KU because the first time I went there, all the professors were like giving me their business cards saying, send me your work. Because when I was in high school, there wasn't really a whole lot of video opportunities, but I did do like the newspaper and things like that. They wanted me to send their work. So I kind of felt wanted there. When I got there, all the opportunities, like we've mentioned a little bit, like you can just step right in, not to, also take shots at Mizzou, but yeah, you had to wait 2 years there.
Right.
I also looked at Ohio University, which was the same thing. Like they're like, oh yeah, you can't get in right away. But like for there, the attraction is like you're getting in right away, you're doing things you want to do. Like I was running cables for the camera people for the football games, the parabolic mics, like worked for Fox Sports One, like as a freelancer for some games. What was that sense that you got like when you got there that it felt like home for you for that 4 years? Because I definitely got that sense right away.
Yeah, so okay, so I have a very different route to how I got to the J school compared to a lot of other people. So for we'll start with your question first. I think when I really found my place, I guess, is really when I first got into the J school because at first I definitely met a lot of people, but it still was like, like, is this really home? But sports being a huge part of my life, like, nothing beats AFH. Like, I mean, Allen Fieldhouse is unbelievable. So that was a huge thing. I'm really good in terms of being where my feet are, and what that means is just like wherever I'm at, like just let's be there. Like Vegas will always be there. Everywhere will be there. Like let's just be where we're at. So that helped, but going back to what I started this with, so I actually went to KU to study photography. That was my major. I had no minors, nothing, because I did yearbook in high school. It was awesome, and when it was time to make a decision for what I wanted to study in college, I was like, all right, photography is cool. Like, let's do that. So I went, not accidentally, but my advisor was like, "Hey," because this is now, I think, my sophomore year. "Hey, we're gonna throw you into, like, a journalism 101 class, like, it's just take it. It's basically, like, for English or whatever." I'm like, "Alright, yeah, that's cool." I take it, and I think Carol was the professor, and I was like, "Wow, this class is, like, actually awesome. The people are awesome." No shots fired at the art school, like Chalmers Hall, but I would say not a lot of sports fans there, and so it was kinda hard making friends there. I'm pretty good at, like, adapting to whatever, but it's definitely easier when you have similar likings. So going to the J school, immediately talking to all these people. I was in, like, a 200-person class, like, one of those J school 101 classes, and so making all those friends, and I was like, "I should, like, look into this more." So long story short, I made it one of my minors along with entrepreneurship. So I ended up with two double minors after having none. And then from there, I still got my degree, my major in photography. But after that sophomore year class, went to the J school. I started off on Rookie Takeover. No, on yeah, it was a Rookie Takeover. I started off one of the lower shows at the J school because my first real J school class at Flint was with Cal. It was, I think, James C like 213. He talked about making packages and how he has all these shows that he's gonna put us in.
Mhm.
So I started off with the shows, met more sports people. I really met like my circle of friends I still talk to this day. Then from there, I really liked being on camera. I liked writing scripts. I liked the whole process of wow, I'm going to school to talk about sports. Like what a life I live. One thing led to another. I joined Playmakers, I think my junior year. Yeah, first semester junior year. And I will say that junior year was probably or junior year was really good, and senior year, I'll say senior year was when Playmakers really kinda took that next step. Like, you guys started it, and the idea of it was absolutely amazing, and the idea still lives on today. But we were able to, like, have massive growth on social media, having, like, ESPN-worthy graphics for our shows, like, figuring out different shots, doing live hits outside the booth, outside AFH, whatever it may be. Like, I did a me and my friend Carson, one of like we were a little duo for some of the segments. We did a live hit at the swimming pool, like inside the swimming pool, like at KU. It was awesome. But so Playmakers was when not I definitely knew that KU was my home before this, but Playmakers really solidified, like, this 4 years was, like, one of the greatest decisions I've ever made, just the people I met, like I said, I still talk to this day, and again, like I started this whole interview with, just the opportunities I had was unbelievable, and I still got a degree in photography, so I can still take great pictures whenever needed, but it's definitely awesome, and Cal Butcher is one of a kind, I still talk to him to this day, I think he's had one of the biggest impacts in my life. If any of you have had the pleasure of knowing Cal, you know how awesome of a person he is. He, will do anything to make sure that his students succeed and that, I think there's not a lot of people where you can say they truly put me and others first, but Cal definitely puts, me and other students first, and he's helped a lot of us in a lot of different ways, and, I'll forever be grateful to Mr. Cal.
I don't wanna make myself feel old, but 7 years later after graduating, I still talk to that man.
Yeah.
He's meant a lot to me and some other people like Griffin Hughes who started Playmakers as well. Cal was a big reason in, like, helping us form and shape what the show is now, and you guys have just taken it when you went there and the crew there that's now just taken it to another level with the creativity and things like that. And it's kind of also, I feel like it's kind of unique too. Like, even though it's 7 years, like there's still some like of the same cool things with opportunities and things like that. But with a creative side of things, like how did you come up with that flow of creativity or coming up with these segments? Because what I enjoy looking back on like the social media now is like you did all these things where like you're doing pickup basketball games or you made an
Mhm.
intramural team and things like that. So what kind of brought all those creative ideas together?
I think the biggest thing when you want to elevate what you're doing as a group is to make sure you guys truly are friends. And I think that was the biggest thing for us. It wasn't just we're all these students coming together to make a sports show and then we're leaving. No, it was like, hey, we're gonna actually hang out and talk about this show, and then we're also gonna do whatever. We're gonna have team bonding where we go to the Bull or we go to the Hawk or we I don't know, not even do that, just go to somebody's house, like so we're all friends. So what that does is it allows you to bounce off ideas off each other and not be scared of someone being like, that's a terrible idea. Because once you're friends with someone, I don't know how it works, but you're willing to say a lot more to somebody, right? So having that to where, okay, we're all just gonna throw out ideas and let's see what sticks, and no one's gonna be like, well, that was terrible. So that was very awesome, and also, I think it translated really well on camera is that you can tell we're friends, like, we love doing what we do with each other, and so that led to us all being into sports. I mean, if you cover sports, you like to think that you maybe coulda went pro in sports, so we like to make the intramural basketball teams, we did sand volleyball, we did flag football, champions, must I say, in flag football, but, we did all these things, which just keep building the team camaraderie, and then also specifically social media, so many people had amazing ideas like Jackson Reed. We have the green screen that Weather uses, and we never really used it for anything else other than like sets, when you build sets and use them. But he was like, hey, like, I'm gonna do a hockey breakdown, which then turned into people doing football breakdowns, just like you see on First Take, ESPN, whatever it may be. Then, Lauren Richie and me, Richie O'Baid, we had a segment called Richie Squared, where, okay, if we're gonna go to these football games and basketball games, we kinda realized we're only using that stuff that we're getting for the next Friday's show, or, like, yeah, we're posting the photos that we would take live on, Instagram, but we're only really using that stuff once right on that Friday show, so why not have a dedicated segment that after the game, we kinda do a live reaction, we talk about what they said in the press conference, we give our thoughts and opinions, and that was really awesome, and, testament to me, Lauren, Lindsay, Ryan helped a lot, Cal, it was mainly us 4 who say the game on a big noon, right? And so we get to the stadium around 10 a.m. We cover the whole game. We do post game. We go back to the studio and we would shoot it. I mean, we're leaving there around midnight, but it was awesome because we're making quality work. I mean, I was one of the main people who traveled for football games to cover them, so there was times where in Boone Pickens Stadium, like Oklahoma State, I'm in the press box after the game on Zoom with Lauren doing our segment, like, so being able to not only have these ideas, but then truly commit to these ideas is what I felt allowed us to make such a great product, and people loved it, like, I remember so in Vegas was the Big 12 Media Day for football, not this past year because it was in Dallas for the year prior, and so this was right after I graduated, and I remember knowing that I probably wouldn't see/talk to most of these players again unless, I see them in their NFL careers, and so Devin Neal is walking off, Allegiant Stadium field to go to the team bus, and I went up to him and I just said, like, "I graduated, it was a pleasure covering you, thank you." He was always one of the most, like, awesome guys to cover, we had kinda like a little funny shtick where I would ask him, like, a lot of times they're just like other reporters are very like boom, 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 straight to the point, like whatever. And I would ask him like, how to feel to when he absolutely took the guy's ankles, or I would, like word it like that, and he always loved it. So I went up to him, made him a point, said thank you, and he said back to me that, thank you for covering us, like that all of them see playmakers, like, and hearing him say that was awesome because yeah, we have thousands of followers, we see the players liking our photos of themselves, but to hear that they actually, like, really do see us in the work that we put in and how we cover them and they enjoy it, I mean, that made all the work worth it right there because, yes, it's also for yourself and you're real, but to know that all those hours you put in wasn't just for fun or for show, it was actually, "Hey, these players and their families are seeing this stuff." I mean, like Quentin Skinner, I, like, sent photos to his parents before, like, I sent photos to him, like, it's really awesome to do that, KJ Adams is another big one, when his mom sadly passed away my senior year during the season, the first game he played after the news, I had the pleasure of being courtside at Allen Fieldhouse and shooting photos for that, and he actually used some of the photos I took in his post talking about his mom since passing, and that was also a huge moment, like, wow, like, I mean, I'm sure you guys can already understand, like, it's hard to put into words on how much that meant, but it's awesome when you don't get it a lot from athletes, they're focused on their craft, whatever, but when you do get that nod, it's quite the feeling.
For me, it was Devonte Graham on the men's basketball team. When I was there, he was like one of the big time players. Like if he went back to Lawrence today, I'm sure he'd win like mayoral race or something like that. Like be the mayor of Lawrence. Um, but he would like early on my freshman year, like I would talk to him a lot, and him and Svi Luke as well, because I got involved with that Bill Self fantasy camp, and they had like J school students like be almost like beat writers and like cover the teams, and like the players from the men's basketball team were the coaches. So I had Devontae and Svi's team, and I would always wear these like polo shirts, and so every time I see Devontae for the next 4 years, he's always like, "Poles on my chest. What's up, man? Like, how you doing?" So that was really cool to like have that like assurance, and they knew who Playmakers was, because we had like the merch and everything, and they'd see us out, the volleyball players too, like, "Hey, like Nick from Playmakers, cool stuff." So kind of exactly like what you're saying with Devin Neal and everything, and just kind of makes you feel good about like the product and everything you're putting out there, like we were talking about, just kind of being in that environment, appreciating that environment. And you told me you did want to continue with what you're doing. Obviously, you're doing a whole lot of things, showing your versatility, also
Mhm.
getting reps on camera as well. But you did mention to me too, like you want to get into some running things. So
Yeah.
explain that to me, and why running is a passion of yours.
Yeah, so in the back, I have some of my work, but yeah, so I definitely want to continue doing what I'm doing. To be more specific, I want to be a beat writer or cover my New York teams. I'm a New York fan, and my dad's from New York. So that, like, if they said, "Hey, you need to stop running to cover the Yankees," shoot, I'm never running again. But listen, running truly has changed my life. So like 3 years ago now, 2.5 years ago, long story short, I had these roommates from Paraguay, right? Love them, they were some of my best friends. I went to Paraguay to visit them, and at this point, I didn't go to the gym for, like, a year. I played sports growing up my whole life, but for some reason, I came to KU, kinda went to the wayside. So we go there, and in my mind, I'm like, "Okay, I'm, like, more athletic and capable than my roommate, however bad that may sound." We do this 3-mile run, he absolutely murders me, and he's in my face telling me, like, "Come on," whatever. From that point on, I was like, "Alright, this is never happening again." So I actually started my running career completely out of spite, which is hilarious, but it turned into much more after that. I found that running and covering sports has a lot in common because the release that I get from running was awesome, and you almost feel like an athlete. So, basically behind me, these 4 right here are just normal marathons I've done. This one I did 2 weeks ago. I ran a 50-mile ultra marathon, and that's what I'm really getting into. So I would love to have a career I'm gonna try to pursue a career in ultra running specifically, while still doing what I'm doing, like, I was training and ran this 50-mile marathon while still having work, like, there was times I'd run, like, 30 miles in the morning and, like, go to my 3 PM shift, like, which I think is awesome, like, I think I'm super young and have a lot of energy and, like, it's kind of cliche to just, like, be at work and you're like, "Oh, I'm tired," and then you're kinda thinking like, "Wait, am I tired? Like, I don't even think I am tired." And so, like, that would happen, so, running, like I said, truly changed my life. It's taught me a lot about myself. If you think if you think that sitting at your work is, like, super hard and it's like, "I don't think it can get harder than this. I'm super stressed out, like, this is the most major thing ever." Go try to run 50 miles and tell me if your job is still the hardest thing you've done, because that's really changed my perspective of like, okay, I'm at work, I'm gonna get all my work done, like that's not a problem, but just kind of realize how blessed all of us are to be doing what we're doing. Like it could be a lot worse. Not saying that, you could be running 50 miles, but I'm just saying that running allowed me to zoom out and really see like, okay, this work is like it's just work, like, you just get it done and it's over, and then kind of in terms of, like, I kept being told not really people in the news community, but just, like, in other jobs. I think we get very lucky because 'cause we're allowed to be creative, and a lot of people are very open, so I don't really view my job as work. I think it's, like, a lot of just having fun and, like, just having fun. But I was told by a lot of people in different fields, like, "You're gonna work your 8 hours and you're gonna be absolutely exhausted," and then like, "Oh, I'm too tired to do this, this, and this." So, almost out of spite again, I was like, "Okay, we're gonna see about this," and I've been able to still put up massive miles before and after work and be completely fine. I think it's all about perspective. I think I'm very big in terms of I don't like, if you tell me you run 2 miles, I'm not like, "Oh, what the you should do 5." No, I'm like, "If you run 1 mile a day, that's a lot more than what a lot of other people do." So I just think incorporating some type of workout or running is huge. I highly recommend it. I don't know if I recommend doing 50 miles. Definitely the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But yeah, so that's definitely changed my life. I'm gonna try my hardest to pursue a career in running, but also still doing this because sports is unbelievable. I watch it every day. Today's a big college football day. The Yankees are on at 4:05. I'll be strapped in for the entire thing. KU West Virginia at 3:30. Like I'll be locked in for sure. But before this, I did my run, so just finding the balance of it all has been really fun and awesome for me. Also, realizing my coworkers actually cared about it. So I would tell some of them about this run I had and whatever. Like I didn't tell a lot of people. I kind of just do it for myself. But I came back. What? Yeah, 2 weeks ago, or I guess 2 Mondays ago. I came back and everyone's in my office. Like, how'd it go? Like, what happened? And like all day, and I was like, wow, like this really is a community and a team, and I think that you get that at a lot of stations. So it's awesome. I think they play hand in hand. Funny as that may seem, or as outlandish as that may seem, I really do think the two play together.
Everyone should definitely have something outside of what they're doing to have that, feel of like maybe I don't know, if, like real life or like, but just something that's like separate from the work life, things like that. It's important for the mental health, things like that. Like I do uh 2 times a week a, like, boot camp class where I wake up at
Yeah,
9 AM. Even though I worked until 11 the night before, I still wake up because it's, like, sets the tone for the day and things like that, so mental health and those things like that helps helps with
100%,
helps with those things for
100%.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think not to cut you off, I think too, like exactly what you just said, and it builds discipline, like saying,
Yeah.
"Okay, I'm gonna run 20 miles tomorrow," and then, okay, now you're at work and now they're asking you to work overtime and you're doing all
Yep.
these things, but to still have the mindset like, "Okay, I might be here till 3 AM, but I'm still gonna wake up at 8 AM to run these 20 miles," like, and then doing that, and then after you do that, you're like, "Wow," like just did that. Like, I think the human body is capable of a lot more than a lot of people think. Your mind defeats you first and then your body. So I think just like you said, building that discipline is huge because no matter how you put it, like, people are gonna hate on you for whatever you do, but
Yep.
it's hard to hate on discipline. It's very hard to hate on discipline because discipline is a proven thing that you can show over years of work. Motivation is something that's fleeting. Everyone gets that 4 AM motivation. Oh, I'm gonna run a marathon tomorrow. You wake up and you don't even come close to it. But discipline is something that will be there forever as long as you keep hammering away. So I 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you.
And you also mentioned, like, you're waking up maybe after 5 hours of sleep, but you're still commit to whatever distance you're going. And I think that's interesting, like, hearing from runners, because my sister, my brother-in-law, they've run a lot of marathons, like, they used to live in New York City, so and then I'm from Chicago, so they ran in Chicago, other places all over the world too. But what was interesting about, like, how they're training is, like, it's like a ramp up thing. So, like, they don't run a full distance, the first time. They, like, get up to a distance. Does that help, that training process? Does that help at all with, like, the job, like, knowing how to ramp up to, like, a big thing, like, just getting those reps and then working up? Do you see a
Yeah,
similarity there?
yeah, I definitely think that being able to see so if okay, so for example, going into this 50-mile marathon prep, I was like, "Okay, 50 miles is so much, like, this is unbelievable," and then going through it was a 15-week plan, and so going through each week, consistently building up the miles, and then I had, like, a 36-mile run, and I did it, and after I was like, "Holy smokes, like, that was hard, like, 14 more miles is gonna be unbelievable," and then, like, 6 more weeks of work after that, and continually just putting blocks and blocks and blocks of work, and then on race day, you truly see all that work you put in, like, so I got 5th place, and it was my first ever ultra, and so seeing all that work finally pay off definitely translates because when you're at your job and you're doing these things or you're taking these reps of editing or talking to people or producing or whatever it may be, in the moment, you're like, "Okay, this is very small," or, like, "This is very hard," or, "How is this gonna help me," essentially, like, just in terms of running, like, me running my 6-mile run, how is that gonna help me with my 50-mile run? Until you get to that big thing and you're like, "Wow, all those reps did help me, did prepare me for this moment," and I think that's definitely huge. I think it translates 100%, and not even just in the news world. I think in anything you're doing, if you're consistently building blocks of winning and succeeding and just putting in the work, it's gonna show no matter what. If maybe nobody else will see it, but you're gonna see it. Trust me. Because you can't get better by doing nothing. And you're only gonna get better by doing things consistently over time. That's the biggest thing, just having discipline, being consistent, getting it done, and trust me, you will see the effects, whether it be running, lifting, working, every aspect of your life, you're gonna see improvement.
100%. And speaking of winning, you mentioned your New York sports team. So we'll just talk about the Yankees specifically because I don't know about the other New York teams right now, with
Right.
the winning. But I mean, at least the Yankees were in the World Series last year. What What are your thoughts on the Yankees season so far? I mean, Aaron Judge is on his way to another MVP season.
Yeah, so asking me what my thoughts are on the Yankee team is a loaded question because I am in the group where we're a 27-time champion team. I'm in the group of we haven't won since 2009. I also will tell you, I watch every single game. I can't tell you the last what year it was that I haven't watched the game, whether it be listening on the radio or watching the game. I've never during the 50-mile run, we played the Blue Jays at 10 a.m. During each aid station where I see my dad, the first thing I'd ask is updates about the Yankees. So I'm telling you, the Yankees are my life. This team though is very interesting compared to years prior because I had the pleasure of going to the World Series last year with my dad. We went to all the games in the Bronx. It was awesome until it wasn't. But I will say this team is different because our offense is truly unbelievable. I mean, we're top 5 in OPS. We lead the league in homers. I mean, we're gonna have maybe 4 players with 30 homers this year. Jazz just had 30-30 last night. I mean, this team's offense is undeniable. I do think there is some holes, like Ryan McMahon at third is kind of been a hole, but his defense is unreal. Anthony Volpe, kids from Jersey, gotta love him, but geez Louise, he's definitely no Jeter. The pitching is what's gonna scare me the most. I do think we have 2 bona fide playoff starters in Max Fried and Rodon. But after that, our game 3 starter is very up in the air. We're gonna be a wild card team. We're not catching the Blue Jays. We kinda choked that away last night with them losing 20-1, and then we also lose to the Orioles. Of course we do. But I don't know who our game 3 starter is gonna be in the wild card. We're gonna either probably play the Astros or the Red Sox, maybe the Mariners, but I think they're gonna win the division. So maybe it's gonna be a rookie Cam Schlittler, maybe it's gonna be Luis Heel, who won Rookie of the Year last year. Who knows who it's gonna be? The bullpen absolutely scares me to death. Devin Williams has been picking it up of late, but if we're up 1 in a wild card, decisive game and he's coming in the 8th inning, I'm gonna be absolutely biting my nails. David Bednar and Luke Weaver, I believe wholeheartedly. I know Weaver's been kinda getting hit around, but I believe in them wholeheartedly. Devin Williams scares me to death. Tim Hill's awesome. Camilo Duvall scares me. Fernando Cruz scares me, and a lot of people after he made that whole face that went viral. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna see what happens. At the end of the day, I think that I'm the manager every single day, and I criticize everything. But at the end of the day, I just sit back and watch, and we'll see what happens come October.
To make you feel a little better as a White Sox fan, how about just like one playoff series since 2009, you know?
Yeah, man, you guys, that's a tough life you live. And it's funny because yesterday I saw with the Rockies winning, they've officially secured not the worst record of all time, so you guys will still hold on to that.
Yeah, it's sad. I thought it was looking good there for a second. I was
Right?
like, "Oh, thank you." Yeah, like we're not the worst team ever, but
Right.
I, but for me at least now, like I can see some of the potential from this team. Like they're winning one-run games. There's
Yeah.
guys like Colson Montgomery just hitting bombs out there. Like
Yeah,
two catch, two,
Colson yeah.
yeah, two
Yeah,
catchers who could hit.
Colson is
Yeah,
great. Colson's
yeah.
great. Mydroth is gonna be really
Oh
good.
yeah,
Kyle
oh yeah.
Teel is gonna be really good. I think, even though Garrett Crochet might win the Cy Young, you guys definitely got your money's worth for him. I think
Oh,
this
for
deal
sure.
looks a lot better than the Chris Sale deal. I mean,
Yeah,
hindsight 2020, but even if we went back in time, what you got now is pretty good. Yeah, I think you guys have a lot of pieces there. The pitching will be interesting. His name Drew Davis is his name, right? Drew Davis has a lot of upside. There's
Drew
a lot of
Thorpe. Yeah,
pieces.
Thorpe. Yeah,
Drew Thorpe, yeah, Drew Thorpe, Drew
yeah.
Thorpe. There's a lot of pieces on that White Sox team that could be very interesting. But again, we're talking about the White Sox here, so who knows?
Yeah. It's a sad existence, but
Yeah.
but I do want to wrap this up by saying
Mhm.
that I do have an appreciation for Vegas. I love going there, and I'm not a huge gambler, but I do like enjoy the music scene there with all the DJs and everything. I went to EDC actually as my college graduation gift back in 2018. I bought it for myself, and I'm going there next year for my 30th birthday. So I'm like going back after 8 years. So that'll be awesome. And I saw probably one of the best Tiesto sets when I was because that was right after Avicii died. And so he did that Avicii tribute that went viral, and that was just awesome to be there for that. And I know you went there too, so just like that shared experience of being at EDC and just how awesome it is.
Yeah, EDC is truly one of the most absurd places you can ever find yourself. If you've never been to EDC, I recommend it. I don't know if I recommend 3 days, but I recommend at least one
Yeah,
because you are literally in the middle of a NASCAR racetrack in the middle of nowhere, Nevada. It's like 50 minutes in the strip. Like you're just
Yeah.
out there. Traffic's terrible to get there, but you're out there and you literally walk up the concourse, the stairs. You come out of like at a regular NASCAR event, baseball, whatever, you come out and you just see like filled of lights and stages and thousands upon thousands of people. I think this past year they said it was like 500,000 people were there, like unbelievable. And I will say though, like we've talked about community a lot in this whole conversation. The community at EDC is unbelievable. Everybody
Oh yeah.
loves everybody. It's awesome. So if you've never been there, definitely recommend because from good music to good people to just like how did I end up here? It's you get there 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and you're leaving at 6 and the sun's coming up and you're
Mhm.
rethinking every decision you've ever made in your life. But looking back on it, EDC was definitely some of the most fun I've ever had with my friends.
People are getting married there. You
Yep.
have different stages for whatever genre of dance music you want to listen to. So everybody has a vibe, things they want to do, and you just feel like, yeah, like you're just part of a family there, and no one's going to criticize you. Nothing. Everyone's just there to vibe.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And if you're nervous about how you're gonna be viewed in your outfit or your dance moves, wait until you walk past a silent disco event and people have headphones on. You can't
Yep.
even hear what they're listening to and they're grooving out. So if you think that you're gonna be judged, trust me, you're not. That place is awesome.
I can't wait to go back. But
Yeah.
but I do have to ask too before we leave as well because you're putting great work out there. Where can people see your work at?
Yeah, so I will say I do a great job of putting my work out there, but I also do a terrible job of advertising it, I guess. My Instagram is Richie.Obey. That's like my main Instagram. In my tagged, you see a lot of my work. My main feed is like very basic, just me and my friends. I also have a YouTube channel, Let's Talk with Richie O'Baid. I have a few things on there. I did an interview with Eric Nixick, which if you know UFC, Sean Strickland's coach, Aljamain Sterling's coach, Francis Ngannou's coach. He's done it all. So I have stuff like that. Those are my main things. I'm working on my Twitter right now. Most likely I think it's Richie.Obey, but I'm working on that. Gonna try to get better at that, definitely. But yeah, Instagram's definitely the main source. Yeah, Richie.Obey.
Yeah, Instagram is definitely growing as a bigger platform now. When I was in college, Twitter was definitely the thing, but now it's like Instagram and TikTok, and those things are the big followings, big social media areas to find work. And it's awesome to hear that you're in the YouTube space as well.
Yeah, I always had a dream when I was younger to be a famous YouTuber. It's kind of that's not a thing anymore, but I do think YouTube is a great source of getting long form content out there that people are willing and able to watch. Especially like I'll just throw my reel out there because you never know who's gonna see it, and it's easy in a job application to go to your YouTube, just hit the copy link and put it in the application. So,
And that's exactly where people can find this show.
yep, exactly. Look at that plug.
Hey, gotta always put the plug out there. Richie, I really appreciate you hanging out with me here on Cousins Conversations.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. You've been killing it. We've all been killing it as always. Rock chalk,
Hey, we have family, man. We have family. That's what we love.
100%.
If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment. Have a great week, everybody.